Welcome to this week's BTO Talk on digital transformation, AI, generative AI, and so much more. My name is Michael Alf, one of the co-founding partners of Beyond the Obvious, calling out of Lisbon. And we work with organizations literally globally on these topics and help them on the journey. And I'm excited to have finally both of my partners here with me. Over to you, Markus, because your connection at the moment is stable. So let's start with
Yes,
you.
absolutely. Thank you, Michael. Greetings from Thailand, where I just completed a project including AI as well. We will talk about that later. Markus Keiper from the National University of Singapore, and together with Rob and Michael, we are helping you to get ahead in the game of GenAI and AI. Over to you to London calling.
Yes, London calling. Great to see you there, Markus. Michael, Rob Thurner in London, working with a business school and direct clients, banks, telcos, and government clients on their transformation journeys. And very much looking forward to our update this week. Let's kick off with an update on the tech news, Michael. Wow, another 7 days. What have we got? And then we're going to move on to the area, the human side, which of course is where there's so many opportunities and where we're really keen to work with you guys. So, Michael, over to you.
Thank you very much, Rob. And again, things are moving at a neck speed. And so it's incredible. And we, of course, have a new model, Gemini 3.1. Interestingly, Google was a little bit behind after the last releases, and it seems they are catching up now with 3.1. The first benchmarks show that they're actually really good. The biggest jump was actually in the category of basically thinking autonomously through problems. There's a specific test around that, and they jumped from, I think, the 30 to 70% achievement there. A massive jump forward. And so, we have even better models than last week. So every week it seems kind of they are getting better. So that's one tech news. The other one is really, and I had a really interesting event yesterday with more than 60 AI enthusiasts here in Lisbon. I'm hosting that on behalf of Mindstone. And we had 3 presentations, and it shows one was around the risks of phishing. So can you trust your agent? It was really interesting 15 minutes presentation and all the risks, including a live demo, how this can happen and what the risks are. So be careful if you are one of these people who are trying out new things. Be mindful of that. Don't install your OpenClaw on your main machine. Be careful with the other bots, autonomous bots. Because there's a lot of risk involved. I'm myself very, very careful. So I set up 2 now on different machines, virtual machine as well, and trying to experiment and learn around that because it becomes relevant. So that's on the tech news. A lot again happening. But over to you, Rob, for the business part and the human side, which we want to focus on.
Yes, thanks very much, Michael. And the human side is really fascinating and, of course, the biggest challenge for most organizations. I was doing some research just this week on the upcoming book we're putting together on leadership. And what I found was a really interesting piece on Medium where the author was looking at the very small number of businesses who are truly getting ahead. He uses this concept of plug-in thinking versus rewiring thinking. And the argument he puts very clearly refers back to the McKinsey Rewired framework and the behaviors of the leaders who are moving away from simply cost savings of finding ways of building more efficiency into their business to a much more ambitious way of bringing AI into the organization, which touches on innovation, touches on shifting towards workflows, which is, of course, where we've been talking a great deal about agents, parallel agents, and agentic solutions rather than one-off. So the takeout from this, and very keen to get your feedback, Markus, on this in just a moment. The number of organizations which are genuinely leading and taking a transformation across the whole organization and this rewiring are those which have this overarching holistic ambition, and those where the leaders are actively taking control now of governance, of leading projects and giving their teams true empowerment to move away from experiments to larger scale deliveries. So with that in mind, what's your reflection on the organizations you're talking to and what those leadership characteristics look like? If you could give us some examples, that would be really to open this up.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. This is absolutely what I'm hearing and feeling and experiencing as well. The clients we are talking to, and that is including here in Southeast Asia and Asia and the GCC, they are either rewiring and they say we can really do a completely. I have a plane just starting, so maybe just say something, Michael. I know it's goes. Okay, the plane is still flown by pilots, by the way, not by AI. So they are either trying to rewire, or they basically try to transform. I haven't come across as a really truly valuable AI transformation project yet. Because most of the times what we see in this moment, and it's still the Wild West out there, let's call it this way, people are trying to justify to cut overhead or to increase some activities with agents within AI, within marketing. And then you wonder what is happening with the people, what is happening with hyper-personalization for clients and consumers and so on. I would like to give you one example. We just created, in a very small team, a strategic go-to-market approach for a bioscience company in Australia. And we did it the very classic conservative way, 3 to 4 people sharing their minds and running interviews and so on. But at some stage, probably at 40, 50%, we looked at AI and how AI could go through the thousands of pages we created on content, and a 2-hour meeting turned out the output of maybe a week's work, because we let AI run in the background and say, okay, let's ask AI to get back to our materials and get the answer for what is the price level, what are the distribution networks, whatever. We didn't ask AI to give us the answer. We asked AI to work with our information. And then we asked it for confidence levels and what strategy do you actually think will work. So this is what my experience is. I have someone talking to in the background. So over to you, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Markus. I think that's a great example, which reminds me of the second presentation yesterday, which was how to use AI in interviewing processes in market research. And both for the actual interviewing as a new form, which is really interesting, but also, of course, the assessment of the material afterwards, which is the other use case, and which anyhow we are already using as well. If we work with clients, it is always a hybrid approach. So I think it's an interesting development, what you were pointing out, and what this kind of also this plugin Rewired refers to. Again, we are still at early stages. So I think there is, as always, the consultants and the thinkers are far ahead. They come up with all these ideas. But of course, reality need to catch up. I mean, today, reality still is that the majority of people in most organizations have a limited understanding of AI, and in particular, generative AI. One of the examples I always hear then is, well, we are doing this transformation work here where we analyze all these data of networks and optimize that and things like that. Nice, but that is AI. That is an AI machine learning project and is not incorporating generative AI or marginally. So the transformation of, let's say, customer service, marketing, sales, procurement, and the other areas, this is much more procurement. And we are, of course, at the very early stages. We are expecting from people that they already do this transformation without really understanding what it is. This is what we're still doing with our Maverick simulation, which helps laying the foundation. And only on these foundations, you can actually build something and initiate the transformation. And as we all know, change management and transformation takes not months, it takes years. It takes kind of 1.5, 2 years, whatever the kind of the process and the complexity is. So I think there's an inflated expectation in terms of kind of what is possible on the top level. But I want to come back and maybe handing over again to you, Rob. And the approach of rewiring is definitely the right one. So, I mean, kind of, what do we see kind of in this regard, how this rewiring might work, and how are we redefining then processes in the context of generative AI?
Yeah, so I think that the rewiring, this works on different levels. We can certainly share in the follow-up the rewired framework from McKinsey. There are behavioral rewiring characteristics that leaders are following. And then there are some delivery elements where we look at the way that different data sets are collected, the capabilities of teams to work together to extract the insights and then deliver the solution. So we've got different ways of tackling the challenge, and there's a cultural overlay here too. And I think it's that cultural overlay where we identify, and the work we're doing now around the orbit framework that we're developing as part of our hybrid leadership model, where we need to be very clear from the outset, what is it at a high level that we are looking to achieve, and how do we align our different stakeholders behind that vision? How do we assign responsibilities to each of the teams so they're actively involved in the same project? How do we then bridge that so we're bringing our human teams with our tech capability and our data teams to truly unlock the opportunity here? And it's that alignment which seems to be lacking in a lot of organizations. And going back to the point about shifting from pilots to organization-wide change, this is the bit that seems to be keep causing so many challenges. So, Michael, that would be my reflection on the rewired framework and how we can encourage alignment and orchestration between the different teams, which a lot of organizations are still preparing them for now.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And you mentioned our orbit framework, and maybe, Markus, that's a point for you, sharing that now with a few. I mean, I shared that in keynotes and workshops. So what's our thinking about that? Just to kind of give a little bit of an idea, and then we can go deeper maybe in the next session. We really see from our expertise and our research, this is kind of how we came up with this framework, which really helps organizations along the way.
All right, and I will stick to our orbit framework because we had a fun version of this as well. So the O in orbit stands really for orientation. You need to basically be part of a conversation like this in order to understand the ins and outs, the consequences, the intent of your AI changes you want to do. And I avoid the term AI transformation or digital transformation because we are way away from that. The R are basically the responsibilities. Who is doing what? What is AI supposed to do? Actually, we hear of companies laying off a lot of people, and then you read in this one paragraph, and these laid off people will be replaced by AI and they will answer questions of customers in the future. Really? That is the question. Can they really do that? After you identified the why, what are we actually doing that? Then comes the bridging, and the bridging is between human and people. So now you do some change management, and there's a lot of change management waiting for you. Like I have a lot of noise in the background. So maybe I stop here for a moment, Michael and Rob. What about change management?
Yeah, so I mean, clearly, so it is a transformational process which requires a lot of change management, and we see this bridging really as a key requirement in the new world, bridging kind of technology and people, bridging kind of the different aspects, especially when we talk about kind of rewiring, changing processes in an organization that requires a lot of bridging. So that's kind of where the bridging comes from. And then we continue maybe in the next session with the last two letters. So if that sounds intriguing, yes, we do that. Kind of, we are already beyond our time.
Cliffhanger. Okay.
We need a cliffhanger. So, but if that feels interesting, either scan the QR code here above Markus' head, which takes you into the WhatsApp group, or leave, of course, questions, comments on LinkedIn, or reach out to us via Beyond the Obvious. .co, and we're happy to kind of work with you, especially with the upcoming kind of book launch and the thought leadership we are putting in there. Rob, any final words for our wonderful audience?
Yes, so we've touched on a number of areas here. It all becomes a whole lot clearer when you can see the framework and you can see how the different parts fit together. So some interesting examples there. Thanks for sharing those, guys. Very much looking forward to continuing our journey here and getting this down on paper and sharing this out through the various channels that we'll be using, and then turning this into workshops that can help you along your journey. I think, Markus, you said it earlier in our prep session. Look, there's no golden answer here. There's no silver bullet. It's very much discovering as we work through this, but we're looking forward to sharing our thinking as it develops, and we very much look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, and bye for now.